When will I call it first? 3, 2. Barely opened the can. Okay. That's where we're at. It's a wrap.
That's a wrap on the season.
Cheers.
Cheers. The Michigan Wolverines are national champions.
I'm drinking a permanent funeral, which is fitting at the end of a
so
college
fitting.
football season, and I haven't left my house in 2 weeks because I can't get well. So I'm really looking forward to this. I have not had a lot of any alcohol.
Yeah, because you've been fighting the good fight of getting healthy.
I've been fighting the good fight. I've been fighting the good fight of getting healthy. But here we are.
Yeah.
We're healthy.
Yeah, which is crazy. And also it feels so weird to be doing this from home. Normally we're like makeshifting a hotel, pod situation and, grabbing 2 drinks at hospitality and then showing up to do a pod. So this
I got a great
odd
story about that. I have not been at home to watch a championship game with my kids and my wife, a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And my 2 boys now love football. So I'll see if I can turn the camera behind me. Well, there's my new couch. So you see the little gymnastics mat back there? Okay. Right. That was where my 2 youngest boys decided they were going to set up a mock Oklahoma drill tonight. So they're 4 and 7. And as the game is going, this is not me. I do not endorse the Oklahoma drill. I have to say that because that's like a controversial thing. And all I'm hearing behind me as I'm trying to cover this game and be a very serious journalist is my one son yelling, "Stop grabbing my wiener." That was my championship experience tonight is sitting at home, getting over pneumonia, still sweating out whatever has ruined me for 2 weeks. And those 2 doing an Oklahoma drill next to a Golden Tee machine saying, "Stop grabbing my wiener." So a little different, but kind of charming in its own bizarre, weird way. So
yeah, I will say another thing is that we are used to being very dressed up for the occasion, but we are both rocking municipal right now. I wish I could turn all the way around and show
this is not a golf shirt. Municipal golf shirt night for me. This is loungewear, comfort wear. We look good though.
We are in loungewear right now because, you know what, we had to make things work, and we did. But it's lovely to hear that at least there was some entertainment because that game, I don't necessarily know if that was very entertaining for the people.
Yeah, it really wasn't. It wasn't.
There were parts of it that were entertaining, but I'm sad that the world did not get to watch what we normally see from the Washington offense, and I feel like we should start there with football things before we get into Michigan, because I feel like there's a lot of Michigan debrief, but just like initial thoughts on the game as a whole, but also just the Washington side from your perspective.
So on the good side of Washington, I mean, that felt TCU Georgia E in that first quarter. They gave up 179 rushing yards and something like that, 19 yards a carry. I mean, it felt like a video game. And Washington, thanks to, I think, some of Michigan's just bizarreness, kind of figured it out and settled in a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but the biggest thing, and we talked about it, and it's the obvious talking point, but like they got to Penix. I think he was sacked 11 times coming into this game. And the part of it that was really eye-opening as the game went, he missed some very non-Penix, like some of these throws and misses. He was like the Sam Darnold seeing ghosts thing. He was like and by the way, he got the shit kicked out of him. So I'm not even criticizing him, but he missed some early throws. And then as they kept getting to him, you could clearly see he was in pain, and uncomfortable, which we've seen again, saw before. And B, I think that was it. Like when you can't give him the appropriate time, you're not going to get it to Ndudze. You're not going to. The whole thing is not going to flow. So it kind of felt like stuff we've seen this year, but a much more like elite version of it. It's slowing them down. And that really was the story on the Washington side.
Yeah, it was very scary that it was going to get out of hand early. And I was like, oh no, here we go. But again, even the final score doesn't depict like the whole game. Like don't know why Michigan went away from the run game. Obviously, definitely Washington started to figure it out, and that clearly changed their game plan, but still that final score I feel like didn't tell the story of like how close that game was with how much time left, and then it just kind of broke open in the way that like it hasn't for Washington all year long. Like we've seen them in these situations before and they haven't. Like it was like a bend don't break and they finally broke sort of situation. But it was sad. But I think too the other part on the flip side, the offense for Michigan I think was incredibly impressive, especially their offensive line. I know there was like a lot of conversation around the offensive lines and Washington's offensive line winning the award this year. Michigan's offensive line has won it 2 years in a row. Before this, there was a lot of discussion about that. And I think, they really did make a statement, and you saw both running backs were dealing with a situation where they were like, all right, here's this, like, oh, we got through that gap. I'm like, you mean the gaping hole that was? Like, they had all the space.
Some of those early on were crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it, overall, it wasn't the best of championship games, but it's
by the way,
Donovan
Edwards, the running back. So Blake Corum is like a stat monster, huge legacy. Like Donovan Edwards is like in these big games, did some crazy shit. Like last year when Corum went down, and like that was cool because that dude's been patient. He didn't play well early this year. That was kind of neat to see because that's a guy. Watch, by the way, he's going to do some crazy stuff at the combine. Like he's got the vibes of that. McCarthy was okay, right?
I said to you, okay. I was like, I hope he keeps throwing the ball. I hope.
He was okay. There was drops all over the place, by the way, on both sides. The officiating was kind of shitty. Michigan got a good whistle without question, I thought, in this game, and I was bet Michigan and all those things, but like undeniably, no, it was a bad game. Like I love football, and there's like Michigan and Alabama was not a clean game, but it was a great game.
Yeah.
This was a ugly game.
Not great game. Yeah.
Not great, not clean, and I don't know, like anticlimactic in a really weird kind of odd way.
So 2 questions. 1, did you prefer this over what we watched last year? And the second part of this is, do you think that we will get more national championship games like this with 12 teams if there's like a team that sneaks by, or do you think that one, it was still a level playing field and it wasn't as big of a blowout, and we'll see tougher and tougher matchups as the playoff expands?
I don't know if you could have a worse playoff championship. I forgot, by the way, I was thinking about this earlier. I'm glad you brought it up. Last year, like, I'm not happy that we're home, okay? But that fucking game was so bad. And then it was fucking pouring. Do you remember that? How much rain
we were running.
was?
Yeah, I was wearing heels.
We were like running and looking for the bus. Like part of that shit is
shout out to that guy, by the way. Shout out to that whoever was working that game and was like, this is the wrong bus. You'll be here for like 2 hours. Get on this bus to get home. And we were like, thank you. Shout out to that employee somewhere, because that volunteer, whoever you are, you were the real MVP because you saved us majorly.
Of a game like last year is that you can write on it like start of the second quarter. And you and I are having conversations during this game because that's how the vibes were. Like, hey, you want to start writing? It's like, soon. And then it got weird. So no, I think obviously this was better. I think the storylines are compelling. Like Harbaugh winning is compelling in a sense that nobody quite knows how to react. And we'll talk about him because I think it's fascinating. But what will we have with the playoff? I think that the final experience is going to be more rewarding because it's going to be a harder journey. It's going to be a harder path. It may be more random. You may have teams sneak in. You may have some bad games, but we've kind of had those anyways. I'm still like, the semifinals were electric. So like we got those. And this wasn't a complete shithole of a game, but it wasn't it. Like I have people texting me, like they're kind of like, hey, this game isn't great, right? I got like 3 or 4 of those texts tonight. And I'm like, no, it's okay to say the game kind of sucked. It did. But it was compelling for a while. If Washington would have, like, there was moments where if Washington would have done like just a big play and tied it up.
Tied the game at 20. Like, I wanted nothing more than for it to be interesting for not only wallet purposes, but just for in general, like fandom and watching a football game purposes. But
can I give myself, can I do a little, I don't do this a lot. Well, I kind of do it a lot. So I went back and I looked at my articles from the start of the year.
Yep.
And for a national championship story, it's always kind of awkward. We've had this conversation because you're supposed to pick a national champion. I pick 3 teams to win the national championship. I pick a favorite, and then mid-level, and then an underdog.
Right.
Michigan, Clemson, don't want to talk about it, and Washington.
Yeah.
I actually don't remember this. I've been trying to find this article for a while just to say, like, who did I pick? I should have bet, obviously, a little bit better. They could have probably made some serious. I did bet well tonight, but like just saying every once in a while, even if we give dipshit picks, and I give dipshit picks, I'll speak exclusively for me. Like once in a while, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Once in a while.
Once in a while, we come out strong. But I do want to get into the Jim Harbaugh, Michigan sign stealing, NCAA violations situation. So I want to read you a tweet that someone tweeted earlier today. It says, Jim Harbaugh's first 6 years at Michigan. 1 bowl win, no Big Ten titles, 0-6 versus Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh's past 3 years at Michigan. 3 straight Big Ten titles, unbeaten versus Ohio State, offered 10-year, $125 million extension, 5-0 perfect season, national championship. We have been on a Jim Harbaugh roller coaster for about 10 years, okay? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go back to the NFL? He's a terrible coach. Why is Michigan keeping him around? It's so strange that this feels sort of like how it's going to end. Of course, we know that he's going to explore his options in the NFL. I think ultimately he will end up in the NFL. I don't know if you think that as well.
Fuck yes.
Yes. So I'm
writing about this like in real time right now, by the way. Yes.
But I feel like, for those of us that have covered him for as long as we have at Michigan, and then to go into this season, have him have the 3-game suspension because of NCAA violations and supposedly buying a burger for a recruit, and then the sign stealing stuff, and just the madness that has been the Jim Harbaugh era has been so strange, and for it to end in a national championship feels very college football. Like, especially like, this sport is pure chaos. The things that go on are just like, it would be so hard to explain to somebody like who's not from America or the South, even sometimes, what college football is like. And this Jim Harbaugh stuff and winning a national championship after the year that they've had feels like the most college football thing ever. And I didn't realize it until today, really, because I was like, it's kind of annoying. I was like kind of annoyed that they were going to win after all of this. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? After all of that, and a lot of it, we talked about the initial suspension. That was kind of bullshit. The suspension that he is doing for the sign stealing stuff, also a little like quick to the draw because of the Big Ten commissioner kind of wanting to make a statement. It was like, you know what? I'm sort of okay with how this all ended. Of course, I wanted the Pac-12 to ride out with a championship. But in terms of like narrative and storylines, yes, it's annoying, but it's like the most poetic CFB way. Like it feels so fitting.
It's like, it's a perfect, and this is sort of what I'll be writing. So go read this on Bleacher Report. But
yeah, it's live now that when this is live, that article will be live.
Yeah, so I got to finish it. So this is helping me with my material. So in a lot of ways, this is the opposite of a fairy tale because it's loaded with scandal. The football they play, Washington plays this beautiful brand of football a lot of the times, and Michigan's is suffocating, and they ran the football like 4,000 times against Penn State, and and it's not always easy on the eyes. But if you actually think about it, the guy returned to his school and underwhelmed, and they were really fucking close to firing him. COVID dealt with that, right? You had the shortened season, and it was like on the verge, and then they turned it around, and he won huge. Like, he won huge. He returned to his alma mater, and he won them a championship. Like, after many years, right? And most teams would have given up. This is kind of the Dabo thing, right? They stuck with Dabo, and Clemson won. Regardless of how we feel about Clemson now, it paid off huge for Clemson, multiple championships.
Well, yeah, so in a world where they're paying coaches not to coach teams, like, this is
this is it. Like, it'd be like Jimbo if they kept him at A&M, right? It's a kind of a similar timeline. If they kept Jimbo, and Jimbo competed for the SEC and won an SEC title for 2 years. Now, granted, Harbaugh had a good season before then, but up until this point, like, it is a wild ride. Throw in, though, so you have the entirety of Harbaugh, and then you have this season, which is its own storyline. I mean, he was on the couch for essentially, a third of it? Or more?
Right.
It's wild, right?
Which I would like to say Sherrone Moore deserves a lot of credit for
he was great.
This team success and this championship. And when Harbaugh inevitably leaves, he needs to be the head coach. And if that is not the case...
By the way, as we're doing this, I want to read a tweet.
Oh God!
As we're doing this, like, right after the Natty, and so, like, Harbaugh is, and he's so fucking painful with the microphone. I defended this man, but we've talked about this. I think I'm done. But here's a quote from his post game presser: "Off the field issues? ? We're innocent. We stood strong and tall because we knew we were innocent," right? Like, I think it's hilarious. Again, and this is why it's like he's a wrestling figure. And if he leaves college football, and I think he is, like, he hired prominent NFL agent, and there's jobs, there's clearly teams interested in him, and he's a great coach. College football will miss him in a very peculiar way, because big personalities and weirdos are good for college football. And whether you like him or hate him, his absence is going to be like a big one.
Yeah.
That's not to say Sherrone Moore won't be a really good coach or do a good job. Like, he'll be great. But I think the sport is great when you have these larger-than-life personalities that are captivating, even if you, like, are tired of hearing him talk. And I'm actually tired of hearing him talk, and I know you are too.
He's incredibly polarizing, and I feel bad for the people that are directly asking him questions live on television or after games, because it is such a...
He's planning his exit. He's like,
get me out
of here. And here's my dad. And he throws his dad in front of them. And, like,
Therese Davis,
is like, get your fucking ass over here, Jim.
Right.
Yeah,
well, and he is incredibly polarizing, and I think, even thinking about and watching some of the, like, pre-game stuff of, like, their family, and also just one note, I want to scrap the idea that multiple Harbaughs are winning championships this year. Not happening. Not on my watch. The Ravens are not ruining my life again. Anyway.
I do have one Harbaugh quote. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is the most prominent one.
Oh,
they're asking him about the NFL, and he had some bizarro quote the other day.
Yeah,
so
the one about waking
the
up
NFL,
tomorrow and having,
he said, "I just want to enjoy this. Does it always have to be what's next? What's the future?" That's his quote, which actually, you know what? On the night you win the national championship is, I think, completely fair. Like, I think his other quotes have been really stupid. Like, don't we all want to have a future one day? Like, shut up. But, like, on the night you win the Natty, like...
Let it go.
Like, don't you want a future, good sir? Like, but the night you win the Natty, you can punt on that answer. Like, what are you supposed to say? Like, yeah, I got an interview with the Commanders at 9 a.m., so we're going to have to, like, fucking move this along. But that internally is probably where he's at.
Yeah, they have, like, a post-game they have the press conference tomorrow that they both have to be at.
I forgot about that. The Stetson Bennett hungover invitational.
Yeah, and they have they have stuff tomorrow that they have to do with CFP too, I think. And then both coaches, and then then they'll head out. But he's incredibly polarizing, and you're right. The sport will miss him for sure.
And I mean that in not like I don't, like not enemies. I'm trying to think of the right word. These figures that you like want to fail, people think this way about Nick Saban. I think a lot of people want to see Nick Saban fail. The two of us are not one of them.
Definitely not here.
What the fuck was that? Whoa, yeah, okay. I didn't know that was what your response was. By the way, for the people not watching on YouTube, you turned very fast in like a nod, like looking around, like there's a fucking bat flying in your house or something. So again,
to your point, I'm slow.
I have not I'm not interacting with society.
That's
so Saban is different. Saban's a lot more likable these days, by the way. But you need a Nick Saban. Kirby Smart doesn't have the same shit that Nick Saban does. He just doesn't.
Who they're priming to do it? Dan Lanning. Shout out to Dan Lanning, by the way. No, I what I was saying before was that I watched a lot of this stuff on the Harbaugh family leading into this, and I will say and obviously as a 49ers fan, I know the who's got it better than us, nobody. Like, I've been a part of the Harbaugh family crew and the lovey-dovey stuff that they have going on. I did respect it, and I do respect that they are very good at what they do and have become elite coaches. And despite, and I think the other thing is that a lot of the scandal has made people really furious because it's against the rules, but it's the NCAA. And I think we've all agreed that we're just against the NCAA as a whole. So
let's get another thing straight too. So whatever the NCAA decides, which will take many months, maybe years, who the fuck knows, like that you can take a title, you can vacate, and I don't think this will happen. We saw it. Like, this happened, right? Like, so this whole asterisk thing, like if you want to have an asterisk in your mind, that's fine. What is that asterisk going to provide you?
It's certainly not going to slow Michigan fans down from being
you feel better with that asterisk? Like Reggie Bush.
I like you say asterisks over and over again. And
asterisks?
Asterisks.
Am I saying it properly, at least? Like Reggie Bush's Heisman.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, no. He fucking won a Heisman, okay? He was the baddest motherfucker in college football by far. Like, nobody's taking that Heisman from him.
Yeah.
So, like, do whatever you want with your asterisks. If it makes you feel better, sure, put an asterisk next to it. Whenever the NCAA decides, when Harbaugh's coaching the Chargers, and they're like, fuck it. Like, here's some scholarship bands.
Can we just take a moment for the Herbert Harbaugh? Like, that's going to be a weird, like, that's like two very weird dudes. Like, I love Justin Herbert, don't get me wrong, but he's a weird dude. He is. And he talks in movie quotes, and like, I'm wondering how long it's going to take for that to be like meshed, but I kind of think it's perfect.
I think it's perfect too. Like, that is a loser franchise, like with great talent.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh is a winner, but he's a weirdo. Like, you want to unlock the full potential of the Chargers.
Of the weirdness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to be weird.
I don't know. Like the sign stealing thing, and maybe it's because it's been months and so we've regurgitated it. It will be reignited. This will be a thing, and you do. Oh yeah,
they're going to punish Michigan for this in some capacity, despite having him sit out already. Like, they're still going to punish them in some way because it is against the rules and it's a blatant violation, and they went out of their way. Also, I mean, was Connor Stallions at the Rose Bowl?
God bless that dude. Like, that dude just like
he took the fall. He's the fall guy.
He's the fall guy. Really, but he's still living his life.
He's still living his best life being at the Rose Bowl.
Michigan has been conditioning itself for Harbaugh leave. You mentioned Sharon Moore, who I thought actually for a while was not calling a great game. I thought they would have adjusted, and then, again, there's some drops. I thought he had that play action in the second half where they had a brutal drop on first down. I was not very happy about that. He's great. Like, they have an easy go-to strategy here, which teams don't often have. It's like the obvious one. Recruiting will be fine. Like, granted, like, you lose Harbaugh, you're going to lose a lot, but like the state of the program really is not going to change. Our expectations of Michigan won't be all that different in the short term. Like that's a huge fucking deal. And that is also a product of Jim Harbaugh setting him up for success in a really fucked up, deep way. His suspensions are going to help the future of Michigan because you've given this guy hands-on, like on the job, beating Ohio State experience. It's a really bizarre way to look at this thing, but that's the way it's going to actually happen.
So I'm having Martinelli's sparkling cider delivered to me. Thank you, Blake.
Wow.
It was definitely made an appearance on the show. I'm doing dry January, and I was looking. I thought we gave away all of our Martinellis, but this is a sparkling.
Oh, cheers.
Hopefully it's not bad.
I was not planning to do a dry. Well, I'm not doing dry January, but it was like half dry. Like I'm still like a fucking funny. God. Yeah.
All right. So at least I got some sparkling cider. So.
Well, that was very nice.
That was very nice. Sorry, that was our way of like I think capping off the national championship is like cheers, we did it, national championship.
Yeah, I do. So what? We got a lot. We'll regurgitate. I
want to talk about the Pac-12
season. Then talk about the Pac-12.
I
love that. You just like grab the fucking mic, like I want to talk about the Pac-12.
I didn't like. I was sad, okay, about the Pac-12. Don't get me wrong. But I saw a tweet that was like, so long, partner, and it was like Woody saying bye. In, I think it's Toy Story 3 when Andy leaves for college and stuff.
I've cried at pretty much every Toy Story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Immediate tears. When I tell you, like, I started crying, I was like, oh my gosh, it's really over. It's like very sad. I feel weird about it. Like, I didn't realize how sad it was going to be for me, which is funny because I am going to go to the Pac-12 basketball tournament. And like, I imagine myself just like sobbing hysterically. Like in Vegas drunk, not doing dry March, although I usually do dry March.
It's a terrible month to do dry. I'm just saying. I mean, God bless you. Do you?
It's because I work a lot during that month.
Yeah,
so
I
yes.
Get it.
But I'm sad that it's over, but I'm also so grateful that this was like the final year of it. And I know we talked about this last week when, you know, the commissioner was saying like, oh, I wish teams would have waited. No, like this conference has been great, and it's sad. For those of you not watching on YouTube, Kramer was just like full blown, like choke coughing.
It's not joking, okay? It's just
it looked like you were
the virus that is slowly killing me for 2 weeks. I'm sorry to interrupt your
monologue.
Yeah, no, keep going. Your eulogy. It's beautiful. That's why I needed to cough aggressively during it. No,
this is my way of saying goodbye to the Pac-12. Thank you for the Pac-12 After Dark. I'm so sad to see you go.
Now I'm sad.
I know, isn't it? It's like actually really sad.
Well, all right. So I'll give you
your conference is part of the problem.
Football is a. And I do want to write about this in some form because football is a little bit broken right now, and it's growing in popularity despite its brokenness.
Yes.
No, but I'll give you my eulogy for the season.
Okay. I'm plugging in my computer, by the way, so
it's fine.
I don't want to lose power.
Just don't cough.
Just don't cough. You see the mess that is my room.
So yeah, I have felt. Truly, I have been about as consistently sick for 2 weeks as I've ever been.
Yes.
I don't know if I've left my house twice, mainly to see a doctor, and I'm on the rise. Thank God.
You are.
So I haven't had much time to process the end of the football season. It always hits me a little differently. Today I woke up free of the fog, still with a cough, obviously. But this one is abrupt and awkward, and the biggest thing is the sport is going to undergo so much change over the next 6 months. I think it's going to take a lot of processing. Truly, like the way we evaluate playoff teams, the way you and I in this podcast, where we've said, all right, pick your 4, we got to pick our 12, and we got to pick buys, right? And we got to pick, that conference champion would get in. and it
and
seems
what the
small,
conference
but like
looks like.
what the conferences look like, who's in the fucking conference. So like, I love where college football is in general. I love the popularity. I love that people I know are getting more into it.
Yeah.
It is a broken sport though, with a lot of the things that it does. I still love it dearly, but I will say is like we enter this weird period. It's going to be a lot to wrap our arms around, like this off season. Like it's going to take a lot to truly kind of decompress and take inventory of all this shit, because it happened as we're getting ready for the season and during the season, and like the playoff is still, we don't even know where the games are going to be shown at yet. Yeah. Right? Like
there
how
was
weird
a
is
rumor
that?
that ESPN was gonna get some of the rights and then maybe sell
an
them off.
An ESPN writer breaking a news story that sources that ESPN is gonna buy the playoff. Like, that's rich. Just saying. So through all of that, I still love this sport so incredibly much. I do. And even a game like tonight, which was, I don't know, a C minus game.
I would say C minus.
C minus,
Look
right?
At us.
I still now have this huge void that I have to figure out how the fuck I'm going to fill it. And I always struggle with that, truthfully.
Yeah, I feel it was college basketball for a little bit. But I think even to your point, and this is like a good, people always ask us about doing the podcast, and also like, I will say it's not an easy thing to do. Like, I think a lot of people think everyone has a podcast. It's this easy thing to do. And to your point, with the sport changing the way that it is for us and having to cover it during the year and the changes happening during the year when we already kind of have it mapped out can be really difficult. And I think this off season in particular is going to be so strange for us because we sort of have to adjust and adapt. Like it's the great Billy Bean says, adapt or die. And it's going to be fun. Like, that's the thing, is like once we get to next season, like it's all
gonna be chaos. It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be so fun, and it's gonna be more college football and more games that matter, and just the change of conferences and having teams play, bigger programs play bigger programs. Like, a Michigan team is gonna play teams that are difficult. You know what I mean? During their regular season.
Look at Alabama's schedule. Like Alabama's schedule. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I did look at some of this stuff, like in the last couple of days. I love that part of it. And it will have to start earlier for me this year, I think, to get a better like understanding of just where we are. But I don't know. It's different. The whole pacing, everything feels different. And even the win feels different. Georgia's like, I think I processed it differently last year.
Yeah.
When Georgia is kicking the fuck out of TCU, like in the first quarter, I'm like, wow, the season's over. Like, I wasn't there tonight. I was like, I'm kind of there now.
I don't know that it'll hit me until tomorrow, really, that it's like the Pac-12 thing hit me really hard tonight. That is
sad.
Like Pac-12 football. The Pac-12 basketball thing is really going to mess me up for sure. Especially because I was sick and couldn't go see the Cats here in the Bay Area for the last time. But yeah, I think we will certainly cover it all, and I can't wait. But it's like, it is going to be so different than what we're used to. And yeah, it's weird because like having done this for as long as we both have, you feel like it's almost like it's so weird to say like the end of an era, but it is like college football as we know it ended this evening in terms of it's been a decade of the 14 playoff. Now it's going to expand. I was looking at the schedule, by the way, for next year, like what it looks like.
Me too.
We've got December, I think 20 and 21st is the like first round of games. And then you've got 10 days later, another round of games. And then January, like the Thursday and Friday after New Year's is the semifinals, and then the national championship is not until January 20th next year. So we will be celebrating your birthday the weekend of the national championship
style. I know. No, it's going to be different. It's a much longer season, by the way. The pacing at the end here just felt completely off. And by the way, just for talking about, we told last week we're gonna talk about the transfer portal. By the way, during this game, Ohio State landed just like the best running back in football. We could talk. We won't talk about tonight, but how about you? Like that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I want to break all that down because I did start looking and just regurgitating some of that stuff tonight. There's a lot immediately, I think, to unpack there. We'll look at the odds, of course. We can't help ourselves. I've been looking at those the last few days. I just, I picked the winner. I'm like, I gotta run it back here, Paige. Like, come on.
Every time you say pick to winner, I'm just 12 years old. I'm sorry.
I also need to.
Because you also just the way you say it.
Well,
this
also
podcast
feel
started with grabbing wieners and is ending with pick a winner. So really, it's just
freaking grabbing wieners. I gotta be careful. To be clear, two boys, young boys, inadvertently grabbing wieners during an Oklahoma drill, right? Like, I want to in this climate, unfortunately, that was my championship experience, is coughing on a podcast. Me, not you.
Both of us now, but
this was different. This was not what I wanted the night to look like. But we're getting a fucking blizzard now, so I probably would have been stuck in Houston for another day.
Houston's weather is really bad, actually. I heard that. Although I did have a really cool outfit.
See,
it was a green suit. It was a green velvet suit.
I really miss seeing people that we really like and we have good relationships with. That hurts.
That did hurt.
That one hurts. That has hurt a lot today. So no, but we will do this thing again when we are healthy and right, and when the season is even weirder.
But also, I do want to thank the people that have hung out with us all season long. It is amazing to me how you guys sit and even just look. I was looking at the time of how long we've been recording. We were recording for 38 minutes, and it's 38 minutes of just straight nonsense, and us just spewing our feelings. And just talking our way through and processing the end of the season. But even looking at numbers for our podcast, and I usually stick to not looking at numbers usually, because we do what we want to do. And that's why we enjoy this content, is because it's focused on what kind of content we would want to see and what we put out for you guys. But it's fascinating to me that we just have this solid group that sticks around regardless of our shenanigans. And I can't thank you guys enough for continuing to do it and listen to us and message us. I love getting DMs from people that listen to No Punts Allowed. I'm very particular about the DMs that I reply to, that I look at. But when I know they're coming from people that listen to No Punts Allowed and they're consistent from people who listen and know us well, I can't thank you all enough for hanging out with us, because we love this so much, and it's the best part of my week during the football season, because it's truly just us processing this as fans and giving our 2 cents here and there.
What's also really cool, and now I'll get not emotional, but so we did this pod. It started in about a week.
Yeah.
We were like, let's do a pod. And then we got to do some live videos on Bleacher Report, which, by the way, viewership, and I don't really care either, but we're insane. Insane viewership about the fucking AP poll, right? Because people everyone listening are a bunch of savages. And then we got to parlay that into doing shows for HBO Max this year.
Live in New York. And we got to be together and do those shows.
Live shows in HBO Max, all because of the pod.
Yes.
Which is great, right? It really is cool. So this thing, it's a labor of love, because it is fun. Truly, it is therapy in a lot of ways. It's something we enjoy to do, but it's created a lot of really cool opportunities as well. I want to also municipal too, because municipal has made, I think, this possible.
It makes this very much possible, by the way.
It really does.
Us.
Municipal has been awesome in everything that we do, and supporting us, and now seeing all the cool shit they're doing, and all the people that are slightly more famous than us that are
only a little bit, though.
Only a little bit. I can't wait to wear my shoes out in public again. So, no, not to get all super nostalgia in that. But I've thought about that. Like, this has been a very, like, long and super rewarding season.
Yeah.
And through all the shit we do, though, like this hour every week or whatever we talk about, however we get there, is always kind of my favorite part of it, because it's exactly whenever the hell we want it to be.
Yeah. We've been doing this for 3 seasons now, I think.
Yes.
And it's so crazy to think that it's been 3 years, because it feels like it was just yesterday, but also feels like
really
a
does.
lifetime of doing it too. And yeah, I don't think we get to say it enough that we appreciate you guys just hanging out with us and enjoying it with us, and thank you for not taking it so seriously, because that's a no punts way. You can't take yourself too seriously.
Anyone who's listened for an extended period knows that. Thank God. Tricky out of a Mickey Mouse cup. I mean, like, right. Perfect.
In your basement with streamers.
Yeah, I'm trying not to cough. My cat's behind me. It's perfect. Perfectly imperfect, like Jim Harbaugh. That's this podcast in a lot of ways. Hopefully a little less polarizing.
I was going to say, I think there's a little bit, maybe a better comparison we can do. But I will say, I am grateful for not only the people that listen, for you, for the sport in general. We've had a wonderful year. And obviously we'll be back and talk to you guys next week about all kinds of stuff and give you a game plan for what our off-season plan is. But yeah, it's been a heck of a season, and we're very, very grateful for the opportunities. And yeah, anything else?
Likewise.
Any random shit for today before we log off?
Man, I'm feeling slightly better. I'm gonna go finish this Harbaugh story.
And
then I'm hoping I gotta shovel fucking snow tomorrow, man. Like, that's like snow below. So I checked my gas. I got the appropriate gas. Like, yeah, my random shit. Like, we had a great start to the winter, and we get 8 inches of snow tomorrow. And then Friday, they're talking like crazy shit, like 10 to 12 inches and like 50-mile-an-hour winds. And then my birthday is on Monday, and the low is like -5. So, like, shit is getting real very quickly here, which I'm not necessarily thrilled with. My kids for snow are a little bit more thrilled than I. So we will deal with that. But I'm telling you, tomorrow morning, after maybe a couple of glasses of wine and finishing up this story, life is going to come fast, and we will adapt and adjust.
We will.
Who's got it better than us, right?
Nobody.
Fucking Jack Harbaugh.
I mean, I technically do have it better than you do, because I don't live where it snows. So
yes, no, you absolutely do. And you have coughed by far less than me during this podcast.
I can't wait for producer Matt to clip that video of you just coughing during my monologue. I tried to just keep going and keep talking when you do it.
You need somebody to ruin a good thing, buddy. I'm there. Like, you're like getting sentimental, and I'm just like, fuck it, like in the background, like, yeah, that's great. I'm gonna try not to. I got on the mute button. All right,
you did, but it was
I gotta go
funny.
right.
All right, but I have to go edit.
Cheers to the season. Cheers to you. Cheers to us. And we will talk to you guys next week.